What up guys, and in this video, the folks over at Feiyu Tech sent me this AK2000 and I'm going to tell you my honest review, in-field test, and whether or not it's worth its buck. Stay tuned. The creators behind the AK2000 and the AK4000 hit me up and decided to let me test their product and whether or not I'm gonna review it and make a video of it and give my overall thoughts on it. And full disclaimer, this is not a paid sponsorship and I was not paid to make a good review. I'm gonna give you guys my honest and overall opinions on it, but yes, this gimbal itself was given to me. So right out of the box, my overall first impressions of it, and the only thing I do have a comparison to is the Zhiyun Weebill Lab. The gimbal itself comes in this similar styrofoam type of box, has all your compartments, and first overall initial thoughts of the gimbal, which is right here, is that the build quality itself is actually a lot more, I feel, in my opinion, a lot more sturdier and less plasticky compared to the Weebill Lab, which I currently use and have. And has more of this, like the handle itself is more of a, like this kind of matte rubber, and has more of the metal itself. Just overall, I don't know how to explain it, but it just feels overall more solid and durable compared to the Zhiyun Weebill Lab. And it also comes with tripod itself. My overall thoughts on the tripod, the looks of it, it does feel a little flimsy, but once again, for the price of what you're getting, which I'll explain at the end of this video, this is one of those budget, I would say a budget gimbal if you were to pick it up. Because the reality is, if you were to spend, let's say, $1,000 plus to get something along the lines of like the more fancier, higher end models, but for this is more of a budget. And if you go from, let's say, a mechanical or a kind of handheld stabilizer to electronic gimbal, I would say this would be a recommended first look at if you're on a budget. So I'm gonna take you guys out on the field and I'm gonna be using not the Sony, but the Nikon to see if it can handle the test of A, the shakiness of it when I run, 2, the overall how it handles from its different modes from D5200, excuse the background noise, with my 18 to 55 kit lens. And I think this is a solid gimbal in terms of if you want to do run and gun. And if you can shoot 1080 with 60 frames per second, I would say this is a lot more compact compared to the usual, if the competitors are like the DJI, the Zhiyun. If you're more along lines of like a budget and you still want to get those steady run and gun shots and you want to spend under 500, I would definitely recommend this Feiyu Tech AK2000. And that was me just running on it with stabilizer, without stabilizer, on just my 18 to 55 kit lens D5200. Overall impressions of what I like is that it has a very easy base plate mount, whereas something like the higher end models where you have like a 1/4" screw and you have to use a 1/4 to screw it in. This itself, the AK2000, already has a twist knob, which I really like, and it's very simple. And I wish more stabilizers had this kind of setup versus like the more twist screw, if you know what I'm talking about, which makes this gimbal very easy to run and gun and to set up for any kind of shot that you have, which is a big pro in my books when it comes to not having clients wait for you to set up your gimbal and just pick it up, twist the screw in, and you're good to go without constantly needing to measure and figure out what exactly the measurements are. All I need to know is my Sony goes on the second hole, the Nikon goes on the very third hole, and it's simple as that. The next thing I really like about the AK2000 is that it has functions and it's over a UI interface. So first, it's completely touchscreen, the menu system, and let's say on your normal typical gimbals, you have this little joystick here, and you could imagine what it does. If I hold down, the gimbal itself goes down. If I go up, the gimbal goes up. If I go left, it goes left and goes right. And if I double click this, it recenters. And there's other things which is additional, which I really like, is this twisty knob. And you can really determine what the twisty knob does. So if I press this guy, now if I twist the knob, it goes left and right, or pans left and right. If I press it again, it can actually pan and tilt. That is another cool thing. This is a budget, but it replicates those of the higher end models, is that with my current Zhiyun Weeble Lab is that the actual motor is right behind the screen. In other words, I can't see what's going on through my LCD viewfinder. But for luckily, like for the AK2000, the motor is actually tilted down, which is why it's meant for videographers. And you would think you don't want your motor blocking any of this LCD screen. Now, you can actually see what's going on and what you're recording. Because if there was my other gimbal, I wouldn't be able to see, because this motor would actually be up here instead of down here, which I think is a better or smarter way of engineering a gimbal that's used for video. Now to talk about the cons and why I don't like this gimbal. So from my experience, depending on how you balance it properly or not, sometimes my gimbal gets stuck and goes backwards and goes haywire, and it makes really loud sounds like this. But it has not completely freaked out on me, but there are times where I'm like, uh-oh, I got it upside down because I wanted it in underslung mode. So you have to be wary of that. So making sure that it's balanced properly. I would guess another thing that I don't really like, it's kind of like nitpicky on my end, is that every time you turn on the power button, it makes a little beep. And every time you turn on the AK2000, it makes a little shake, which is, in my eyes, is kind of gimmicky, but hey, it proves that it's on and it's working. Another gripe that I don't like about the AK2000 is that the wheel itself, depending on what mode you're in, it isn't as smooth that I would actually like it to be, or it takes some time to actually get down properly panning left to right if you can get the motion down. And another gripe of using the AK2000 is that when I turn it, it doesn't turn as quick, even if I twist it really hard. So if you're filming things like action shots and you're needing to run around and run and gun, you might have little trouble tracking the target if he or she decides to turn really sharp. So, or if you're doing things like basketball shots or anything that requires a lot of action sports, you might have a little issue with this guy. But overall, do I recommend the Feiyu Tech AK2000? And the difference between the 2000 and the 4000 is that the different payload is that I've used this on my Nikon, and it can make my Nikon look superior. And yes, I've used this on a D5200, and you can too. So my overall thoughts, would I recommend this guy? Heck yeah. And no, not because this was given to me. My honest review is that playing from it and my overall impressions is something that I will probably use for my own videos in the future, because I really like this damn thing. If you guys want to see it and check it out, the price itself retails for around $300 to $400 USD. Link is in the comments below. The difference from this and the 4000 model is that the 4000 model has a heavier payload, meaning you can have your full frame cameras on that, and this is more for your DSLRs and your compact run and gunners like myself. My name is Peter. I just reviewed this guy. Here's some test footage, and let me know what you guys think. Have you ever considered buying a stabilizer, a gimbal? If so, why, which ones? Let me know in the comments. And also, if you want to figure out what kind of gear and camera or anything camera related and you don't know where to start, link is in the comments below, in the description of my free guide of everything you need to know when it comes to buying camera gear, exactly what you need to start, from camera gear to lens to everything. My name is Peter. You're watching Broke Visionary Collective, where we all start with nothing, but you can always create something.